You will make it through. The Fitrah is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah by your side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. You will make it through. The Fitrah is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through.
Pay attention to the PowerPoint. Yeah, Layla's got jokes, but that's a serious joke. All right. So tonight we're going to be covering pages 49 through 53 in the book. We're going to continue to speak about the struggle of the Fitrah, how Allah put us here on this earth, okay, for the Fitrah to find its way back to Him. The Fitrah is in search of the truth. The Fitrah is in search of submittance to Allah's will, and it's going to be a struggle. So we're going to continue our discussion of the obstacles that Allah has created. And again, Allah is the creator of everything. He's the creator of good and evil. You have to believe that. If you have a problem believing that, then your aqidah is not correct. Your aqidah has to match those original companions. And I do understand that some of you have issues with this. You better straighten those issues out. And we will be speaking about those issues later. Your aqidah has to be what the Prophet Muhammad came with. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that Allah is the creator of everything. Allah tells us himself that he's the creator of everything, good and evil. You have to believe that. If you don't believe that, then you are not going to progress in this class. You're not going to progress towards paradise. Your Fitrah is going to be diminished. Okay? Your Fitrah is not going to go further in finding the truth. Everybody understand that? All right. And so before I move further, tell me, what did we speak about so far? We spoke yesterday about how society impacts our Fitrah. It impacts the desire, the need, not desire, the need for the Fitrah to seek the truth, the need for the Fitrah to submit to Allah's will. It impacts that in a negative way. How? Who can tell me how? Give me examples or tell me how society impacts our Fitrah in a negative way. Come on, give me just a few answers. Hit it, microphones in the Zoom. Y'all should ramble them off. How does society impact your Fitrah in a negative way? Get on the mic. Let's hit it. I don't want to take but 5 minutes on this one question. This is the only question you guys have today. Come on, take the mic. Anybody else in type their answers? Because evidently my students are dumbfounded. Their Fitrah has been diminished. Let me start calling names. Anissa, how has society impacted your fitrah in a negative way? Because evidently yours is impacted right now.
I'm running to get to the mic.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm coming from my kitchen.
Okay, I'll go ahead.
Okay. In the secular world, if we are in the secular world, we have the opportunity to actually start doing what the people do in the secular world. And in the secular world, it's not like being in a divine world. We're not worshiping Allah.
Okay, divine means what? What does divine mean? I don't want this. Hold on.
Allah.
No, divine doesn't mean worship Allah. What does divine mean?
Divine is Allah. Divine is Allah.
Okay, all I want is a simple answer. I don't need no fiddle-faddle because our Dr. Jamali has a class. Just give me y'all can answer in one word. Just give me one word answers. How does the society impact your fitrah in a negative way? Come on, this ain't a hard question.
The environment is very negative.
Okay, so good job. How give me an example of an environment, a bad environment. Just give me an example.
Drinking, drugs.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Go back to the kitchen. Okay, how does society impact our fitrah in a negative way? Number one, society can be filled with drugs, alcohol, influences such as drugs and alcohol. That stuff impacts our fitrah because it goes against Islamic morality. Good job. Thank you, Anissa, because she'll fiddle-faddle. Okay, good job. Sakina, mashallah. Okay, Sakina said also, your environment can promote sinful behavior, such as, give me an example, Sakina. Give me an example of sinful behavior. Because a lot of people don't know what sinful, I got new shahadas. They don't know what sinful behavior is yet. They made like the sister from yesterday. She thought it's okay to maintain relationships with men. She didn't know that having friendships with men is sinful. So y'all got to be specific. Just make it specific words for the new shahadas here. How does society impact our fitrah in a negative way? Come on, guys. Give me examples of sinful behavior. Give me examples. Come on, people in Zoom, get the mic. Y'all should be rattling off all kind of stuff.
Those who fornicate.
Okay, society around us, the norm can be fornication. And our society is one in which sex out of wedlock is the norm. Having sexual relations outside of marriage is the norm. That totally contradicts our religious belief. What is the other answer? Go ahead.
Celebrating holidays.
Exactly.
Birthdays.
Celebrating birthdays and holidays that are not a part of our religious beliefs. Good job. Okay. Homosexuality. Good job. Same-sex relationships. Good job. Same-sex marriages. Good job. Since we have a lot of shahadas, I need y'all to be specific like y'all doing now. Because these new shahadas don't know. They are converts to the religion. So they don't know the lawful and unlawful yet. Okay? So y'all have to be specific. Don't just say sinful. What's sinful? I didn't know. Shaking hands with the opposite sex. That's part of our culture. That's part of this society's culture. You have to learn that shaking hands with the opposite sex is unlawful. Women wearing belts and dressing in tight-fitting clothing is unlawful. So anything that contradicts our belief system, anything that contradicts our lifestyle, anything that contradicts the laws and the commands of what Allah tells us and our way of life, it has a negative impact on the fitrah within our heart, and it will cause us to succumb to the environment around us. We'll become part of that environment. This is why Islam teaches us to distance ourselves, to distance ourselves, to distance ourselves from non-Muslims as much as we can. We have to work with them. We have to go to school with them, but we deal with them on a professional level, but we don't get too close to them. When school is over, we go home. We don't interact with them outside of work or school. We don't get too close with them. It's strictly business, and we keep our distance because association easily brings about assimilation, and we don't want to assimilate with them and end up picking up their ways. This is why in Islam, I want all you Muslim women and men to hear me out. It is haram. I repeat, it is haram. I repeat again, it is haram in Islam for us to travel, to go on vacation to non-Muslim countries just for fun. Even living here in America, it's haram for me to travel, just to travel. This is a non-Muslim country. I can't go to travel to the Bahamas or to travel, to California just for fun. Because this is a non-Muslim country. We'll take on the behavior. We'll be exposed to things that contradict our ideology. The only reasons we can travel to non-Muslim countries is either for medical reasons or either for education. If it's not provided for us and where we are. So if you're going to school, that's different. Or medical reasons, that's different. Or you are for trade, you're a merchant. You're going to buy and sell goods. Or you are a person of the dawah. You are a bona fide, qualified person of the dawah, and you are going to call the people to Tawheed, and you are qualified and bona fide and sent to do that. Those are the only 4 reasons for any woman or man to travel to non-Muslim lands, period, dot. That's Islam. The Prophet Muhammad never sent anyone to a non-Muslim land for any other reason. These hadiths are authentic. Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Muwatta, and it's also in the Quran. That shows how most of you don't know your religion. Unless you're going for those 4 reasons, we don't go to party and sightsee and travel like you Muslims today are doing. That's why Allah has sent this war to us. There's a lot of haram things we do today. And y'all want to know why Allah has sent all these calamities to us? Because we don't practice our religion. We don't know the basics. This is basic stuff that your mothers should have taught you when you were children. I'm a person of the dawah. And I don't even travel nowhere. And I'm qualified to do it. Okay? But y'all all over the place. Bahamas, Caribbean, UK, Australia, whatever. Brothers, you too. You ain't qualified. You ain't supposed to do it either. That's Islam, a basic. Why? Because we pick up their behavior. Good example. Look how even in the Muslim countries, look at how the Muslim countries are celebrating Christmas now. That's what travel does to the Muslim lands. Look how even in the Muslim countries, you go to their countries, they make a big deal out of Christmas more than the Muslims, than the Christians do in America. Look at the Muslims in the Muslim countries celebrating birthdays, singing happy birthday. That ain't part of Islam. You got the Muslim countries doing Valentine's Day too. That ain't got nothing to do with no Arabism or Islam. That ain't even an Arab holiday. You got the Muslim countries celebrating all these American Western holidays. They even doing Thanksgiving now. Now, what the heck do the Native Americans and the Pilgrims got to do with Egypt? But even the Egyptians doing Thanksgiving now. Now, and that ain't even no Egyptian holiday. Wasn't no Native Americans and no Pilgrims in Egypt. But that just goes to show what happens when we transgress the laws of Allah. The prophet said we don't do that. Allah says we don't go to no Kafir lands like that unless it's for those 4 reasons. Because what's going to happen is we're going to end up exposing ourselves to all those haram things that's going to take us away from al-wala wal-bara. And that's what it's done. So you go to the Muslim world and they make the biggest celebration out of Thanksgiving, Christmas, Valentine's Day, Sweetest Day, and those are not even their holidays. Allah speaks the truth, doesn't he? That's why it's going to be more of us in hell than paradise. So that's how society impacts the fitrah. That's why we have to practice distancing ourselves from that stuff and keep our fitrah alive in our hearts by obeying Allah and following his commands. And remember, the Quran serves as the source of guidance. The Quran serves as the knowledge for us, but we don't listen to it. First of all, most Muslims need to understand that the Quran is not the creation of Allah. It's the words of Allah. And that's another thing. Just like most Muslims today don't understand that Allah is the creator of good and evil, we got a lot of Muslims that fail to understand that the Quran are the spoken words of Allah. The Quran, its verses contain reminders and rebukes for those who seek to distort the principles of Islam. Each verse serves as a reminder, telling the people to reevaluate your beliefs, to acknowledge the wisdom contained within Allah's revelation, and to embrace the significance of these principles into your lives. Through these words of the Quran, Allah urges us to acknowledge him, his existence, and the reality of the day of judgment, and to give importance to these things, but we don't listen. Allah commands us to reflect on these verses and internalize their message, because if we do this, this can prompt us to reevaluate ourselves and recognize Allah's wisdom and the significance of his words. But we don't do that. We're busy learning tajweed. We're learning how to memorize, how to sing the Quran, but we don't understand the meaning of what we're singing. And if we look at 2 surahs of the Quran, they really reinforce the significance of accountability, of the day of judgment, and Allah's existence. For example, Listen to this in Surah Al-Mu'minun. Allah says, in the interpretation, the meaning, did you think that we created you without any purpose and that you would not be brought back to us? Subhanallah. This verse is a powerful reminder that human existence is not a product of randomness, nor is it just amusement, but instead we are, these verses let us know that we were created with a purpose. We were put here on this earth to be tested. This verse underscores the meaningfulness of human life, understanding that we will have to stand before Allah and be held accountable for every choice we made in this world. Also in Surah Qiyamah, that surah, oh, sorry, I hit the wrong button. That surah questions whether we believe that we will just be left alone without being held accountable for the choices that we make. Subhanallah. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. Does man think that he will be left neglected without being punished or rewarded for the obligatory duties that Allah has enjoined upon him? Do you sisters think that Allah is not going to hold you accountable for not wearing a hijab, for not dressing the way he commanded you to dress, for not covering your bodies, for not making your prayers, for not lowering your gaze? Do you think that Allah is not going to hold you accountable for all the men that you sitting around on the internet text messaging when you know you ain't got no business doing that? Do you think Allah is not going to hold you accountable for all the marriages you destroy? All the homes that you have wrecked? Being a skank on the internet? Oh, you're going to get it in this world and you're going to get it in that grave. So this verse emphasizes the weight and consequences of every action and obligation, highlighting absolute justice in the divine scheme of things. And this verse also lets it be known that no one will be disregarded or forgotten, and that each and every one of us will be held accountable for our deeds. That's why I tell you, sisters, your home is better for you, and you better get you a hobby besides this internet, because this internet, and that's a good topic. That's a good topic that you sisters might want to make $100 donation for. The dangers of the internet for the Lonely Women's Club. You women better get a hobby, pick up sewing, cooking. I like to cook. Cooking or something besides playing around on this internet, because you will be held accountable and ain't nothing passing a law. Okay? And again, we need to learn to recognize the guidance of Allah. Listen to what Allah says in Surah Al-An'am. He tells us in the interpretation of the meaning, they, meaning the Jews, the Quraysh, the unbelievers, they did not estimate Allah with an estimation that was due to him. When they said nothing did Allah send down to any human being by inspiration. Here we can see in this chapter of the Quran addresses those people who failed. They failed to give Allah his due estimation, particularly concerning Allah's inspiration that he sends to human beings. In this verse, people are depicted as denying the authenticity of the book that was sent to Moses, alayhi salam. They didn't want to accept the fact that that book came from Allah. Just like the Quraysh didn't want to accept the fact that the Quran came from Allah. Listen to this verse where Allah says, in the interpretation of the meaning, say to them, O Muhammad, who then sent down the book which Moses brought, which was a light and a guidance to mankind, which you, the Jews, have made into separate paper sheets, disclosing some of the information, but you concealed much of it. This is what the Jews did, to their book that Allah sent. They put it in pieces. They hid most of it, only revealed what they wanted to reveal. But see, Allah protected the Quran, just like he protected the Hadith. That's why, like I'd explained to somebody, that's why you can't pick up the Hadith book or pick up the Quran and find the whole story of something. You got to dig through it. Allah protected the Quran. He protected the Sunnah. You may find one sentence in this volume of Bukhari, another 2 sentences in another volume, another 3 sentences in another volume. You ain't gonna know the whole story behind something unless you sit down with the people of knowledge and learn. Allah preserved the Sunnah of the Prophet that way, and the Quran too. You have to learn from the people of knowledge. Allah protected the Quran and protected the Sunnah, so can't nobody do that to the Quran and Sunnah like they did to the books that came before it. Okay? Also, look at this in Surah Al-Hajj. Allah says, O mankind, a parable has been coined, so listen to it carefully. Verily, those on whom you call besides Allah cannot create even a fly, even though they come together for that purpose. And if the fly snatched away a thing from them, they would have no power to release it from the fly. So weak are both the seeker and that which is sought. They have not estimated Allah, his right estimate. Verily, Allah is all strong and mighty. Like I tell you, there is no power. There is no might other than Allah. So here Allah confronts the attempts that some people make to negate his existence. And after a thought-provoking parable that he presents, he lets it be known, you can, even if you try, you can't create what he has created. And to this day, we have man trying to create and recreate what Allah has created, but you can't. Like I told you guys, you can, no matter how, if all mankind were to come together to stop the war that's going on today, you wouldn't be able to raise a finger to stop it. Allah brought this war here. And it didn't just start 2 years ago. This war has been going on for a while. Allah brought the war, and this war is not going to stop until he stops it. The power, the might is in his hands, not man's. So these verses remind us of Allah's supreme authority, his power, and he challenges any attempts to marginalize or deny that power. Also, we have here in Surah Az-Zumar, Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning, they made not a just estimate of Allah, such as due to him. And on the day of judgment, the whole of the earth will be grasped by his hand, and the heavens will be rolled up in his right hand. Glorified is he, and high Why is he above all that they associate as partners with him? Here we can see in this chapter, Allah condemns all of those who fail to give him a just estimate, particularly concerning the day of judgment. This verse emphasizes Allah's immense power, his greatness, his might. And it serves as a reminder that on the day of judgment, the entire earth will be in his hand and the heavens will be rolled up in his hand. This verse calls for us to recognize the grandeur of the day of judgment and its deep implications for accountability and payment. It emphasizes again that no one will be disregarded or forgotten. Again, you may get away with it. You may think that you've gotten away with whatever evil, whatever wickedness you've done in this world. But it's gonna come to haunt you when you're in that grave, when those angels come to pull your soul at death. And our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said everyone will experience the pangs of death.